Hello there, it is Kirsten here again, back with part 4 of the company audition series I've been going on with. And as I mentioned in part 3, today I will be talking about how to prepare your audition materials, including your audition photos, your resume, and your audition video. As well as in the second part of this video, I will be talking about how to kind of schedule your auditions and just little tips and tricks regarding that, although I know it is kind of a more personalized thing depending on what you've got going on during audition season, but I just kind of wanted to touch on it anyway. First, I want to stress how important it is to get your materials prepared and done, ideally before Christmas. I say this because, especially for your photos and your audition video, it's important that you want to look, obviously you want to look really good in the pictures. You want to look like you're in the best shape. Because usually that is your first impression, especially if you will be emailing companies asking if you could come take company class or something like that for a private audition, or if you are auditioning for a company that is kind of doing like invite-only auditions or something like that. That is your first impression. The first thing they'll see of you are your picture and your video, or pictures. So clearly you want to look good. And the reason why you should be doing it in the fall semester is so that you can have a very pleasant Christmas break, you can enjoy yourself, have a bit of time off, and not be so stressed and pressed for time when you come back to your normal dance schedule in January, having to get in shape and working it all out. And by that time, it's usually kind of on the later side to be emailing companies. Not always, but this is often the case. So I encourage you to be persistent and get it done. The first thing I'll cover is kind of the easiest, which is photos. Most of you know that you need an first arabesque position picture on point. Obviously you want to be looking really professional. Make it really obvious that, or try and make the pictures look professional. If you can't afford to get kind of a professional photography session, and you're just having your friend take the picture with your iPhone after class, that's fine, but you need to make it look really professional. Don't look sweaty like it was just after class, especially if you're doing a first arabesque position. One of the biggest things I see, the biggest faux pas committed, is when a dancer takes a picture of them doing a first arabesque right next to the wall, and it's super obvious that they definitely used the bar to help them get in that position. You want to make it look like you just did a piqué arabesque and it was really that perfect. Try and make your lines as clean as possible, especially for their first arabesque. Don't have your gaze to the front or your arm really high or anything like that. You want it to be as clean and classical as possible, as if it could be in like a ballet technique workbook. And then for extra pictures, because often you can submit 2 pictures, which is really nice because you obviously put out your first arabesque just like everybody else, but then you have that extra picture where they say extra picture is optional to hand to them at an audition. And it's nice to be able to show a little bit more of yourself, something else you're good at. And I recommend picking a pose that is definitely different from a first arabesque, like maybe an attitude with different arms, or you're showing your back, or a jump picture would be nice, or maybe a little bit more contemporary. Depending on the company, you really need to feel that out. If you're auditioning for a company that's really classical, don't give them some picture of you outside with your hair down and bare feet doing a jump, or like hanging in a tree. Don't give them that. I'm sure, as you can imagine, that's pretty obvious. Just make sure your pictures are very appropriate for the job that you're applying for. Now on to how to make a professional looking audition video. First off, keep in mind that you want to make your video less than 8 minutes long. Like a super ideal video would be under 5, but that's not always possible, I feel like, to show them everything you want to show them and all the variety of the repertoire you've done. For instance, like classical and contemporary work on stage, and then some class work. It's really hard to fit it all in there. Personally, mine is just under 8 minutes, and I'm a little bit like, about that. I'm definitely going to revise it as I audition again this year. Another tip is to put your performance footage in short clips at the beginning of your video. Put out your best footage at the very, very beginning, because oftentimes, and I've heard this from my professors at the University of Utah who have to go through all these audition reels consistently of people applying to get into the school, and one of my professors was just like, yeah, I just watched the first like 30 seconds and then I just fast forward through the rest of it and look at the thumbnails. So yes, you want to make your best impression in the first 30 seconds. So I recommend, instead of starting with class, which is often a little bit boring, they want to look at you as a performer, which is the job you're applying for. So as I keep reiterating, put your best stuff out there. If you're auditioning for a classical company, put like a classical variation. It's preferable that it is footage from an actual performance, but if you don't have that, it's okay. You could definitely just film a video of you doing a variation in a studio. Just make sure it's done really well, cleanly, and that the video is clear and the audio is good, just all that stuff. Then after you compile a few clips of you doing classical and contemporary work, you really want to show your versatility. Edit that down as much as you can, by the way. If you feel like they could get the point of how well you dance in 30 seconds of one clip of a certain rep, do that. Don't give them like, well, some companies do ask for a whole variation, in which case I always recommend look at the websites and look at what they are asking for. If they want a whole variation, give that to them in the reel. But if they don't really specify, just give them your best little snippets of everything. Now, don't clip it too much, because if it's overly edited, they're probably gonna think, she's probably hiding something, or just showing the highlights. They really want to see, get a feel for how you actually dance. So try and make the chunks look like you're really just trying to show them a variety and not like you're trying to hide something, if that makes sense. And then for the classwork, which should be probably at the end of the video, that is the general consensus I've gotten from my mentors as they help me edit my video. Unless they ask for this, again, don't really bore them with bar work or anything like that. Just cut to the chase, go ahead and film center work on point. Do the most interesting exercises you can, keeping it classical, not super boring. You want to show them how good your technique is in that video, but also have some artistry. Don't look too much like a student. And another random tip is, I made this mistake in my audition video. I was in a studio with a light background, like a light colored wall, and there was a window with bright light coming in, and I wore a light lilac leotard, so I kind of mixed with my pale skin. I really blended in with the background, and that's one thing I would have changed. So I recommend, just a little pro tip, wear a leotard that makes you stand out from the background. Lastly, I will cover how to produce a very professional looking and efficient resume that you'll want to hand out to everyone. So on the resume, as you can imagine, you're going to want your name and your contact information, your photo, and just different little characteristics about yourself, date of birth, height, weight, although that's usually optional, at the very top, and have your name in bold. I'm going to go ahead and put a picture up of my resume so that you could get a feel for it. So as you can see, it's really clear from the get-go who I am. You could see my picture, you could see my name in bold, so they're not wondering who does this resume belong to. Under that, I have dance education, both my year-round programs at the top, and then various summer intensives I attended, which are categorized for the most part chronologically. Then I have recent performing experience. You want to make this all kind of within the last 4 years, no further back than that, preferably less than that, but you want to make sure that you show you've done a variety of work, especially put on there your lead roles. Don't really bother them with reading things that really don't matter. Make it the most impressionable works or what should be on your resume. And also organize it according to what institution you performed at. So for mine, I have the University of Utah, and then all the rep I performed there. Then I have Houston Ballet Academy and the rep I performed there, just so it's really clear. Then at the bottom, you have scholarships and achievements. Make sure that this is Again, not excessive. If you won, like when you were little, some little competition that was more focused on jazz or something like that, don't include that. It's not likely that you'll even have room. And if it's not already obvious, make sure your resume is only one page. For me, it was kind of hard to fit everything on one page because I'm always tempted to do more rather than less. But if I'm not already stating the obvious, put your most important things out there. And so I posted on mine ballet scholarships as well as some of my choreographic achievements, because I thought that would be interesting, kind of set myself apart. Oftentimes nowadays, dancers who have the ability to choreograph or show some sort of possession of a creative mind beyond like the typical person who's like, I'm an artist, you know. It's nice to see that on a resume. So just add that if you have something significant, like if your choreography received an award or was performed at a specific platform, venue, or event that was significant. Go ahead and add that because it might make you look a little bit better or different compared to your competitors. And at the very bottom, I have listed my references. For me, I use some of my professors at the University of Utah. I recommend if you have someone who knows you better but doesn't have much credibility in the dance world, and then you also have a contact that kind of knows you, would be willing to give you a recommendation, but has a much better resume, go with the person with the better resume, but make sure to discuss it with them ahead of time. Ask their permission and say, is it okay if I list you as a reference on my resume? Are you all right with getting a call or an email from a company? Given this doesn't happen very often, I doubt anyone contacted my references, but it's really important to just have something else on there, have another point of or contact reference, so that it adds credibility to your application, so to speak. If a company director or someone else would be interested in hearing about how you are to work with, or just little inside information that they can't get from just watching you dance at an audition. So to finish up, I'm just going to quickly cover my thoughts on how to successfully schedule your auditions in the spring, and just some little tips and tricks regarding that. So one little interesting tidbit that I want to put out there before I say anything else is that although I wouldn't discourage you from auditioning in the earlier part of January or something like that, just be aware that a lot of directors will not be making decisions at that point, especially if it is for something more than like second company. I think actually if you're going for a lower position like trainee or something like that, maybe you would want to go to an earlier audition in the season compared to later if it's available to you, or closer to you geographically, just because directors are kind of more willing to hand those positions out when they see someone they like. But if you're going for hopefully a paid position, a lot of times if you audition early and then they say they like you, you're gonna feel like you get strung along with this whole waiting process until 2 months later they're done with their audition tour and they finally feel like they've seen everyone in the country dance, and then they could decide from that applicant pool if they want you or not. Just be aware of that. Sometimes I feel like in those cases, going for those positions, it might be more beneficial to audition later in the season, purely because you would kind of be the last person on a director's mind, or the last person, or most recent person, I should say, to be seen. You're the freshest in someone's mind as an applicant, if that makes any sense. The second thing is, I think it's really important to shoot high and low. Schedule auditions for companies that you feel that you are qualified for. Schedule some that you feel like you might really have it in the bag, and then also schedule one or maybe two that are kind of shooting high for you, kind of like one of your dream companies. Now, I wouldn't recommend going so crazy and like saying, I'm gonna go audition for New York City Ballet, which that's a joke. People actually joke about that because they don't hold open auditions, but that's just a funny example. or ABT or something like that. Again, I think they only hold like studio company auditions or something like that. But when people shoot so high and it's so out of their bounds, I feel like it actually could do some like psychological damage, because you feel so intimidated by people, you feel so like out of your league that it might kind of like damage your confidence a little bit. So I'm not saying don't shoot for your dreams. By all means, like, go out there, don't cut yourself short. But if you have all these companies that you feel like it's pretty likely you're not qualified for at all, especially if your resume doesn't line up with those of the current dancers in the company, maybe just like give one a shot to say you did it. Although I'm not a proponent of like wasting your time and money and your energy, but you know, like, shoot for auditioning for one company that it feels like just slightly out of your reach, but kind of pushes you to be better. Maybe it'll be an inspirational experience for you. So what I'm saying is just schedule auditions for a variety of companies. And you should not only audition for a variety of companies, but you should audition in a variety of formats. For some, they actually totally accept a video audition. I had one of my friends, hey Sarah, who commented on one of my last videos, who was saying that she got her job from sitting in a video audition in pictures. So that's one instance where having a really bumpin' resume, awesome pictures, awesome video can really serve you, because some companies actually do hire that way. Not a lot of them, but it could happen for you. Second, I think it's important to schedule some auditions that are done in person through company class. That is a really cool way to get to know the director or the executives, the staff or people like that, and help them to just remember your face, know who you are, remember you as a person. That's going to give you a better chance as they go through the pool of applications they're getting. And when I say that, it's kind of figurative, like applications. What I mean is like people trying to audition and whatnot, obviously. Then, of course, the most common type of audition are the open call, or they're jokingly called cattle call auditions, where tons of people show up and you don't have to be invited to go. And so obviously you should do some of those, because that's usually the way people get a job. But yeah, just to diversify, do some, send out some videos to be invited for company class, and do some cattle call auditions. You know, just put yourself out there. The last thing I will say to you is that I recommend that you should actually be pretty selective with the companies you choose to audition for. Now, like I said, don't cut yourself short. Don't be intimidated looking at dancers' bios on websites or videos of them dancing and just say like, oh, I don't think I could get a job there, I'm not going to audition. You know, don't do that, because the process is very intimidating, and soon enough you'll realize that you only have 3 companies for on your little list of places you're going to audition, and then you're really lessening your chances of actually getting a job. So don't be selective in that sense, but be selective in the sense that you should know what companies you would actually be happy at. Not only the ones that you are well suited for, but where you would have a good quality of life. Consider that, and that's going to help you kind of narrow down where you actually want to audition. A lot of times you're going to have to choose one company to audition for over another because the dates conflict or something like that. And I also just don't recommend going out there and doing like 20 company auditions. I've heard of people who've done it. I feel like that can be not only a huge waste of time and money, it can be really emotionally draining, and you don't need that. You really need to be on top of your game. You need to be confident, like I talked about in a previous video. So shoot for as many companies as you can while maintaining your budget, your mental health, and a good balanced schedule. And just, you know, put yourself out there for the companies that are actually likely to give you a job, or you would be happy there, all that. Anyway, that is all the chatter I've got time for today. I've actually gone way past the time I wanted to. All these videos are getting so long, but I really just want to get this information out there, and just help you guys as much as I possibly can. So I really hope you like this. As I always say, share this with your friends. By the way, I did make a Facebook page for this channel, TwinTalksBallet, except that's the name for the page, but each word is separated rather than on my YouTube channel. It's just TwinTalksBallet, kind of all squished together into one word. So check that out, give it a like. If you want to see a picture of my very own bum making my first debut in Point magazine, I did post a funny picture of that. It's pretty great. It's like in the back of a picture, but it's a pretty big life moment for me. So if you want to go check that out, look at Twin Talks Ballet on Facebook and give the page a like. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye!